Hi friends, welcome to Joy Phido International. So you know what Joy Phido International represents. It's all about, helping you to think. And we call it Let's Start Thinking. So my name is Joy Phido and welcome on board. Okay, so recently we've been doing quite a lot on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. There's so much more coming your way. But today is really exciting for me because the reason I keep coming back to talk about personal development and mind development, there's a new thing I'm coming up with which I call MEND, and we're going to work on that with time. But it's because the question keeps coming back to me. I still want all of us to understand what really life is about. And there are days you wake up, you're in a good mood, and there are days you wake up, you're in a really nasty mood or in a really messy mood, and you keep asking yourself, what is causing all of this? Why is life so mixed up? Okay, yes, when we look at it from a religious point of view, it's not meant to be smooth every day. You're not meant to say, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing and my day is going to be all kosher, perfect. Nothing's ever going to go against what I'm thinking. But how can we work with it? So one of the things that I saw recently, because again, when I go on social media, I'm looking out for things that will empower us. Empowerment is so important. We need to know who we are and how can we help ourselves better ourselves. That's what empowerment is about. So one of the comments I saw, which I always look out for, empowering comments, touched me in the sense of it explains why I do what I do. And this lady, her name is Toni Morrison, he said, I tell my students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. So if you are free, if you find that you've achieved freedom, help free another person who's still in bondage. And if you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. And that's Toni Morrison. So that really touched me because I'm constantly chasing empowerment. I want all of us to be empowered. And so anytime I get a glimpse of hope, a glimpse of something that gets to me, that signals that something good is happening, I want to come and share it with you. And this is one of those times. So the title today of this discussion I'm going to be chatting with you about is called, I've just been thinking, what should I call it? But I'm calling it Empower Your Conscious Mind. Empower Your Conscious Mind. And where did I come up with that? As usual, I don't just sit down and decide, oh yeah, I just sat and knew what I'm looking for. I'm constantly searching. And as I've said in so many other videos, there are so many of you out there who don't know where to search to find these solutions. You don't know where to buy these books, or you don't have access to buying them, or you haven't got the money to buy them. And even if you bought them, you don't have the time to read them. So there's so many reasons why some of us may remain in ignorance. There are some people who, even if they had the money, even if they bought the book, even if they could read it, they're lazy about reading. So I enjoy actually sitting down to read. I invest my time and my money in gaining knowledge. And it's called learning to learn. So if you learn to learn, it's not so much about going to university and acquiring all those A's and double A's and distinctions and first class. It's about chasing those things that really touch your life. And for me, what is really touching my life is how can I know who I am? How can I help other people know who they are? And that's why I keep encouraging all of us to learn to think. So how did I come about empowering our conscious mind? I've shown you this book in quite a few videos recently, The Biology of Belief, and it's by Bruce Lipton. I've watched this video on YouTube and it's quite intense. It's just one of those videos that you really need to hone in on trying to understand what he is getting at. And for me, it's not enough to just listen to a video and say, yes, I've got it. I want to really get more from that person, which I have done with so many videos. So I bought this book and said, I really want to get to grips with what this man is trying to say. And so this particular chapter that I'm on is what has given me what they call the eureka moment. And again, I know I haven't done some videos recently, although I have so much I want to share with you. But the reason I haven't been doing is because I'm trying to get to grips with this book to really get that message that's making me feel the way I feel about this book. And so the particular one that's made me decide I really must talk to you today is this one on the conscious mind. Hence I'm saying empower your conscious mind. So he's talked about subconscious mind and conscious mind, and we've listened to that in so many spheres. So many people talk about it, but there's something about Bruce Lipton that touches me. It's the scientific background of it. He's a medical doctor, or he studied cells, and from studying cells he came up with all the things he's been coming up with. But you see, what's so exciting is, for me, when I listen to something and it makes a bit of sense, I connect it with my real world. I connected with my personal experiences, and my personal experiences then help me to make more sense out of it. I remember when I was reading, when I finish this particular one, I still go back to reading so many other things which I've been reading from Dr. Africa, Nutritional Destruction of Black People. When I watch Dr. Africa's videos and he's trying to explain this thing about the human mind, and especially the black mind, or the black person's the power of this thing about our blackness that makes us so unique. And I explained that, okay, I really still need to understand why we think differently from the other races, and he really goes at length to explain it. But that did not really hone in the message. It didn't really hone in the message, because I still want to understand why, yes, we may have all these powers and we may have all this ability to achieve greatness, and yet we're not achieving it. What is really responsible? What is stopping us from achieving that, even if we have all these special things that he says we have? And so this particular chapter brought that message home. So I'll read some of the notes I made, because while I may come back or explain to you my personal views, I had to make notes as I'm coming across these things, so that I look at them over and over and makes more sense. So one of the things he said is, learned reflex behavior is an unconscious behavior. Learned reflex behavior is an unconscious behavior. It's a product of conditioning. And so he gave an example. If you're into psychology and all of that, there's a research that was done by this man called Pavlov, who had to ring bell. Each time he rang a bell, he fed his dogs. So he ring bell, he would feed them. So with time, the dogs, whenever they heard that bell, they automatically connected it with food. So when they hear the bell, they will salivate. Their mouth will be watering. Now they know that food is coming. But it got to a point where he now stopped giving them food. He will ring the bell still, and the dogs also think food is ready, but he's not giving them food. So the message was, now he's created something in their brain to think that whenever they hear that bell, there is food coming. It didn't necessarily mean that food was coming. So that was conditioning. And that's what they call program. And that's what in NLP, which is something I did, neuro-linguistic programming, is called anchoring. And so you can anchor a behavior. And this is where, especially for public speakers, what they tend to do is, I've been to quite a lot of events where they explain that when they want to get on stage, and it's a form of empowerment too. So they touch certain things, you kind of like tell yourself, this is when I get into that mode. So they would just touch or click click their fingernails or do something. Once they do that, their brain accepts that this is the time to do something. So that's conditioning. So now, once you've conditioned your mind, what then happens is the subconscious takes over. You've taken it away from the conscious mind. And that's what he's trying to explain about learned behavior or conditioned behavior. So he said here, learning of novel behavior is a product of conditioning, which I've just explained, anchoring, Pavlov's dog's training, reflection, action, or reflex action. So your body just automatically believes that something is going to happen because you've heard something. Further down, he explains that, for some of us, the minute we hear snake, we just think fear. We just think it might bite us. We just think, no, I don't want to be near there. I know that because I don't like snake. So the minute I hear snake, a condition in my mind says that's fear. So that's something that's been conditioned into our thinking. But he says that doesn't necessarily mean that every snake is poisonous. But what our condition has taken us to believe is the minute we hear snake, it is fear because it is poisonous and it's going to kill us. So it doesn't necessarily mean that every conditioning is right or wrong. It's just trying to explain to us that there are some behaviors we have taken on into our way of thinking that is not good for us. But we just take it on anyway. And we've accepted it. So, again, that's the conditioning is the programming. Remember, we talked about programming in so many of our videos. So it is an unconscious learned behavior. So over time, you've taken that on and accepted that this is okay. Conditioned learner process leads to eliciting stimuli and behavioral response, which is hardwired to ensure repetitive pattern called habit. So now you form the habit from something. I hear snake, I don't want to go near there because I'm afraid of it, because it means poison, it means fear, it means... So these are things that has entered into our mode of behavior habit, and we've taken it on as part of our life. But where we're going slowly is, this habit you have taken on, is it helping you? We're going to get to that. Is it helping you? So habits respond to stimuli, which is what the conditioning is. So let's still carry on. Now, the subconscious mind is a self-reflective mind. But before I get to that, there's something that's going to explain a bit more. Actions of habit conditioning program or of the subconscious mind are not governed by reason or thinking. So now that you've had snake and you're afraid, you're not thinking. You just accepted that, snake means fear, snake means poison, and you've taken it on. So your mind is not allowing you to reason anymore. Why? Because you've anchored that into your subconscious mind to say that's what it means. So reason and thinking are from the conscious mind. Animals that have not evolved their mind to self-consciousness level, operate on subconscious repetitive reflex mind. This is a big one. Huge big one. So what he's trying to explain to us, remember we talked about it over and over. 95% of our actions in a day are run by the subconscious mind. This is the mind that is based on habits. This is the mind that is repetitive. This is the mind that is programmed. This is the mind that is based on stimuli. Only 5% of our day is run by the conscious mind. So now let's understand what the conscious mind is. The conscious mind is the part that thinks. Remember what Joy Phido International represents? Let's start thinking. So what this explains to me is, without me knowing, I've been guiding us to start thinking. Are we thinking? That's a big question. If only 5% of our day is being run by the conscious mind, are we really using it properly? Because the conscious mind is the one that thinks. is the one that is aware of its environment, is the one that does not act on program, is the one that is not conditioned, is the one that is creative. So this is where all our problems are coming from. We haven't been thinking. We have allowed ourselves to be used by subconscious mind. Not that subconscious mind is bad in any form, but what he's trying to tell us is the only things that should operate on that subconscious mind are the animals, are the ones who have not risen to that level. He explains the scientific side of it, and he says subconscious mind is self-reflective. So if your day is done today, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and you carry on and you finish your day, have you taken your time to review your day, to say, how did my day go? Is that how I wanted it? If it's not how I wanted it, how could I make it better? That's where the reflection comes in, self-reflective. Because the subconscious mind will not do that. The subconscious mind does not think. The subconscious mind just operates on a machine. It's an auto mind, it's a repetitive mind, it's a habit mind. So this is what we need to start looking at. So it says it is a newly evolved sense organ. He actually does explain how we got to this level. I will actually read this one from his book. Humans and a number of other higher mammals have evolved a specialized region of the brain associated with thinking, with planning, and with decision making called the prefrontal cortex. So as humans, we are supposed to have evolved. We evolve with time. We have evolved to have this part of our mind, which is this 5% of our day, that actually does the conscious thinking. There was a place here where he explained that the actions of the subconscious mind are reflexive in nature and are not governed by reason or thinking. That's the subconscious mind. It doesn't think, it doesn't reason, hence you hear snake, you run. You haven't thought, why am I afraid of snake? Is this really a scary snake? Is this snake poisonous? No, you just hear it and you act because you don't think. That's the subconscious mind. It says, physically, this mind is associated with the activities of all the brain structures that are present in animals that have not evolved self-consciousness. So that level of subconsciousness is actually meant for animals that haven't risen in this level that he's explaining to us, that we humans are supposed to have this extra, which is the one that is controlling our prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of our mind that thinks. That's the part of our mind that reflects on actions. So if you've done something to somebody, reflect on it. Was that a good thing I did? Was it okay? Should it have happened? And if it did happen, what's the result? Is that a good result? So it's like, because I work with hair and I'm very creative with my hands in so many things I do, each time I finish something, I reflect on it. If I design a hairstyle on my client, I will sit back and think about that action that I've taken on. Did it look like I was thinking it should have looked? Am I happy with the result that I got? And the same thing with when I'm teaching students. Because I used to have classes with the council where we train young children how to braid hair. And we used to have 30, 20, 40 students at a go in a class sometimes. And imagine having to ensure you're impacting skill onto 40 people at the same time. That used to be a mammoth a job. But every day I finish my class and I'm going home, I crash. I crash not because, I couldn't stand dealing with 40 students at a go. But now I fall into a reflective mode where I'm asking myself, Did I share the knowledge the way I wanted it to have been shared? Did the students get the result I wanted? Did they achieve what I thought they should have achieved? So I'm reflecting on that. Based on my reflection, the next day I take another action. The next day I review what I did the previous day. And then I decide, should I change my mode of training? Should I add something new? And I've done the same thing with my training in my academy as well. Because each time I finish training my students and they've achieved their results, we review their work. And this is not just on that. I also review when we have our home training students who buy our home training pack and they finish their work. I chat with them and I say, talk to me. How did it go? Which part did you find interesting? Which part did you not like? Which part was difficult? Which part was easy? And this is why you see lots of businesses say to their clients, give me a review. When I've had students here and I say to them, if your customers are saying something to you and telling you something, don't think they're picking on you. It's actually for your own benefit. Because when they tell you what they didn't like or what they loved, it will help you to do more. So that's all about reviewing. That's what the conscious mind does. So now that we are aware of that, are we going to work on our conscious mind? That's why this Empower Your Conscious Mind has come in. Because it's not enough for us to, this whole book is about trying to dispel the fact that who we are is based on our genes. That's what science says. Science tells us that all of us are genetically made in this particular way, and so it should be that way. The same thing has been happening with us black people. Hence I chase and want to know what's going on. We've been made to feel inferior. Other races try to stamp down on the black person and make you feel you don't belong, go back to where you come from, and all the usual nonsense. Because you were a slave, you always remain a slave. And so this thing carries on, and black people don't excel. They don't want to achieve. And I read books and books upon where black people have become the innovators. I mean, there's one I read about Edison, which I talked about here as well. And I found out he wasn't actually the one who created the light bulb that became the household used one. The light bulb he created couldn't really stand the test of time. It was a black man who actually created the one that really worked. But no one talks about him. Okay, so now it's down to you to start working with your conscious mind, because that's where everything lies. The minute you push everything into your subconscious mind, it just becomes, apparently it's a machine that just works on what is being told. So it reacts, it responds, it repeats. It hears a sound, it works on it. So if hence you hear people who form what they call habits. I won't say habit. Sometimes people have they say addiction. Oh, I'm addicted to cigarettes, I'm addicted to drugs, I'm addicted to smoking and womanizing and all of that. Something happened somewhere in their past that made that habit a good one. Made that habit stand out in their face, and they thought, yes, this is great. So once they've taken on the great habit, or they thought it was a great habit, they carried it on. And from then onwards, when something triggers, this is why, even in LMP they call it a trigger. When something like that happens around them, then they revert. That becomes what is now known as habit. That becomes then the addiction. But you see, the only thing that can cure such addictions, that can cure such habits, is the conscious mind. Because the conscious mind will query it. The conscious mind will ask, why am I doing this? That's why it's the thinking mind. That is the querying mind. That is the mind that reflects. So you need to empower that mind. You need to ask yourself, if everybody thinks the best answer to life is going to school and getting an A+ certificate, what has that given me? That's what I query. Because look around you. everybody's been going to school and achieving amazing results, how many of them are actually empowered? How many of them actually have great jobs? That's the question you ask. Because now, the other day, I was watching a program. There's a program on BBC, which is quite interesting. I've forgotten what the title is. And it's about how the society we live in has automatically downplayed or dampened other people and already rose the people they want to rise up. Now, I watched it. It makes sense what is going on. All these posh jobs, city jobs, jobs that are so amazing, that pay amazing salaries, are not meant for the ordinary man. So when you go to school and think, if I have my first class, I'm definitely going to get a city job. That's not what is going on. Because they've explained in that program, this is from BBC, that the parents of these children who send their children to public school or private school, as they call it, whatever name they want to call it, and pay this ridiculous school fees. They don't pay that with the sense that when they finish, they should come and be interacting with a poor person's child who just went through to some school. They call it pedigree. They call it upbringing. So, do you have what it takes to belong to that class? That's the question they're asking. And now suddenly it has nothing to do with your academic excellence. It has everything to do with the accent you speak with and how confident you are. And this is happening even in Nigeria, where I come from. Suddenly, even in Nigeria, where our natural accent is not the typical white English accent or American accent, children who are born in Nigeria are being brought up to speak with English accent or American accent. Why? So they can fit into posh jobs. That's society. And so now these children, no matter what academic excellence you got, there's a guy on that program, he had a first class. He couldn't get anywhere near the jobs in the city. Now he's going to end up going back to school to study some more and get masters and get PhD, and they're telling him, you know what, the best thing you're going to have to do is go into academia. Go and teach. But his dream as a young child was, I want to work in the city. So how is that helping us if we're not thinking? Now, my answer is, you don't have to follow that line. You don't have to say, because the anchor or the trigger or the fun, the excitement is because everybody must finish and work in the city. Me too. I want to make sure I work so hard so I can belong to the city. That's not where the answer is. You have to query yourself. Are there other things I could do to survive in this life? And years ago, when I left the, what do they call it? The city job. Because I used to work in telecoms. I was in the city. When that business failed, the owners siphoned the money, killed the business. We were just dropped by the wayside. I told myself, I don't have that time to go and start chasing another job. I have to do something with myself, to create something for myself. And this was what put me into going into hair braiding. And I remember then people laughing at me and thinking, what the heck is she doing? What does she know? Braiding is for ignorant people who don't know anything. But now there's so much I can do with braiding. So that today, everybody's looking good wearing braids. That was one of my dreams. So the message is, we need to allow ourselves to think. We need to be conscious of what is happening around us. We need to query things. We need to sit with ourselves and reflect on our life. Because if something is happening to us and we don't query it, what do you think is going to happen? It's never going to change. And that's what they say. It's only a madman that thinks I can keep doing the same thing and get a different result. And we're not mad. None of us are mad. We need to allow ourselves to say, if this thing is not working, how can I change it? What can I do to create it, make it better? What other options are there for me? So this is definitely, for me, is a great, great thing to have happened. For me to realize that it is nothing to do with my genes. It is nothing to do with my race. is everything to do with my thinking. It's everything to do with how I see life. Because reality is, the things I have done with braiding, I can do it with anything else. I can do it with cooking. I can do it with fashion. I can do it with making creams. I can do it with anything that comes to my mind. Anything I put my mind on, I can do it. That's the message. So everybody out there watching this, the message is, what are these great things that you can consciously think about? That you can take out from your subconscious mind? Because the great thing about the subconscious mind is, once it's got something, it will repeat that thing for you. But that's only when you want it to have that. Because for instance, when I train people with braids and I say to them, go and practice. And then they fight you and say, but it's not working. I say, you have to practice to get good. Now that action of practice is when you're telling that thing to go into your subconscious mind. It's the same thing with when you started learning how to walk as a child. You didn't stop walking because you fell down a few times and hurt your knee. You didn't stop crawling because you crawled the first time and fell down and hurt your little finger. Your parents didn't say stop crawling, you're not meant for this. You had to keep doing it. You didn't, if you can ride a bike, you didn't say the first day I rode that bike and I fell down, I'm not riding a bike again. So that's what practice gives to us. When we practice something over and over, it becomes a habit. So when you do it, you don't have to think about it again. You see how the subconscious then overrides the conscious. But you see, the first action of taking on that thing is the conscious that's doing it. Once the conscious has gotten it right, it passes it on to the subconscious, which is now the machine that autoplays it. Do you see how this makes so much sense? I mean, I can say it. I don't know if you can say it. But I'll be happy to hear from you if what I'm saying makes some sense and if we're getting somewhere with this. Because some of the other things, some of the other notes, I'll try and read them out just so that we're still all together on this. It says humans and other higher mammals. I think I read this one already, talking about the prefrontal cortex. Endowed with the ability to be self-reflective, the self-conscious mind, which is the conscious mind, is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. That's why I'm so excited about this. Because see, the thing is, I have read so many self-development books. They're all here. I never stop buying them. Beyond Belief, You Are the Placebo, Think and Grow Rich. And the books are just endless. Then I went into the black side, Brainwashed, which is what has been going on with us. Miseducation of the Negro. These are just nothing. I know I have a bag that I just put all these ones in. I have so many DVDs and CDs and books and all about development and personal development, the power of the mind. You just go on and on and on. But I still did not get it. It was still a message I still want to understand. And I think this is one of them. This is for me, one of those eureka moments. He said, endowed with the ability to be self-reflective, the self-conscious mind is extremely powerful. It can observe any programmed behavior. It can evaluate the behavior. It can consciously decide to change the behavior. So now you have a habit. Now you have a way of doing things. Now you have an addiction. You have a program. You have a conditioning. Hence we have things like, oh yeah, black people are lazy. Like Donald Trump would say, or maybe I shouldn't mention his name, I've been told. I won't even go into details. You're lazy, you're a rapist, you're this, you're that. And then what happens? You take it on. Now, the conscious mind should ask that question. Why do you think I'm lazy? Why do you think I'm a rapist? Why do you think I'm not good enough. Why do you want to dumb me down? Why do you think I'm inferior? That's what the conscious mind should do. And that's what he's trying to explain here. It can consciously decide to change the behavior. It can change the program. It can change the conditioning. So your addiction, you have to consciously ask yourself, why do I do this? Because I was saying to my husband the other day, we're just chatting, and occasionally he loves his beers. And I said, have you asked yourself, why do I drink beer so much? Because it's like, it could be a relaxation thing for you. Your subconscious has taken it on to say, you know what, oh, it's time to relax, let me just have a beer. And so you don't even know when you're taking 2, you're taking 3, you're taking 10, it just goes on subconsciously and relaxing. That's fine, nothing is wrong with that. But have you consciously then reflected on that action or that behavior to say, that's true, by the way, why do I really drink beer? What am I getting out of it? That's how it should be. Because when you can do that, it means you can cut out. What he's trying to tell us is your subconscious mind, your conscious mind can observe that program behavior, that behavior of you've told yourself, you've explained to yourself, you've encouraged yourself to say, beer drinking equates to relaxation, or taking drugs equates to I'm free, I'm relaxed. So now your conscious can then reflect on the action and say, but why did I do it? And what am I getting out of it? So you see how powerful this part of our life is. It says it can choose to respond to environmental signals or ignore it. So your conscious mind can say, okay, everyone around here thinks I'm lazy, but I know I'm not lazy. I'm going to do something about it. So your conscious mind is the only one that can do that. So this is why we have to empower that 5% of our day to think. This is why we have to start thinking. That's why I came up with Let's Start Thinking. I never even knew why I needed us to think, but this explains why. Conscious mind is the part of us that can stop us in our track. If you find you're doing something that is not paying you, is not giving you the result you want. Why? Because you have subconsciously taken it on over the years. This is the time now for you to stop it. This is the time to stop it. And although he goes further to explain that because the conscious mind can do that amazing job of stopping us, he also can go against us. He can go against us in the sense of we now look at people around us and we now pick up what we think is the right thing. He says perception. Let me see if I can find where actions of habits, conditioning program of the subconscious mind are not governed by reason or thinking. That's the subconscious mind. Reason and thinking are from the conscious mind. Animals that have not evolved are the ones with the subconscious mind. Yes. There was another one. Consequently, this one. Let me see how I ended this one. He said the conscious mind has the capacity to override the subconscious mind's pre-programmed behaviors known as free will. So the conscious mind is the only one that has that capacity to stop our actions that are not good for us. The human brain's ability to learn perception is so advanced that it can learn perception from others. So this is where it can go against us. Because we have this power of free will, which is the conscious mind, which is where we can query ourselves and stop ourselves when something is not working for us. It says that same capacity is also going to be able to not help us, because the human brain has that ability to learn perception, And that capability would then make us go and learn from other people something that may not necessarily be working for us. But we think because it's working for that person, it will automatically work for us. He says, when we accept others' perception as truth, what if that truth is not true? So now because you have that capacity, just a second. Because we have that capacity to pick up from other people, we may be picking up something that's not for us. We may pick up something that's not good for us, and we accept that is okay. So consequently, the program misrepresentation. So when we accept other people's perception as true, and it turns out not to be true, now we've taken that into our subconscious and we started acting on it. Good example, they say to you, you're rubbish, you can't do anything, and you accept it. Then you actually are not able to do anything because you've accepted that person's assumption of what you are. So we have to be careful with what we consciously accept. And the big question or the big message here is question things. The big message here is reflect on things. The big message here is think about things. Do not just take something on just because people say it is. Because when you take it on and it turns out not to be what it is, you have pushed that into your subconscious, which is our machine-made part of us in 95% of our day. We then accept that, and then now it is not working for you. Because according to Dr. Bleeding, if you want to know what's been going on in your life, review your life. Just look at your life. Is this where I want it to be? Is this what I want my life to be? Is this what I'm hoping to achieve? Once you review your life, you will see the answer. He says once you see the answer, you will know where the problem is coming from. The problem is coming from your preconceived. It's coming from your programs. It's coming from whatever it is that you have done over the years. And so if what you've done over the years are not things that are that are working for you, this is why your life has become what it is. So how do we change that? This is where our conscious then comes in. So I'm really going to stop it here today because it's a very deep topic, and I didn't want to just allow this to stay in my head. I wanted to share it as usual, just to make sure that we're slowly working on something and achieving something. So as usual, please share this video with your friends. And I'd like to hear from you what you think about all these things. I mean, thank you so much to all the people who's been chatting with us about what we are throwing out there. Remember to subscribe to us. Now we're doing quite a lot on our Instagram page, Joy Phido. We're doing quite a lot now on our Facebook page as well, Joy Phido International. Then we're also carrying on with our YouTube channel. So stay blessed as always, and we pray God to continue to guide us and open our eyes to see things that we don't know about. Because in as much as we need to understand all of this, without the blessings of God, without the guidance of God, none of this will be possible. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and stay blessed as always.